The Dravkan armada moved like a black wave across the stars. Dozens of sharp, silver warships glided through the void, their hulls reflecting the pale light of distant suns. For centuries, they had been conquerors, breaking worlds and taking systems without mercy. To the Dravkan, every new frontier was another victory waiting to be claimed. Commander Veril stood on the command deck of the flagship Bloodfang, tall and broad, with scaled armor plates along his arms and neck. He was the image of Dravkan strength. His yellow eyes swept over the main view screen. A swirling gas giant filled half the display, its storm bands twisting in shades of blue and white. Near it, far above the planet's thin ring, floated a single massive object. It was a ship, but not like any they had seen before. Zoom and focus, Veril ordered. The image sharpened. The vessel was enormous, easily twice the size of their largest dreadnought. Its design was strange, smooth black hull plating with faint patterns running along its surface. As if the metal had veins, there were no visible lights, no engine trails, no signs of power at all. It drifted in perfect stillness, silent against the vast backdrop of space. Unpowered, one of his bridge officers asked. Impossible, said the chief engineer. Nothing of that size could hold position so precisely without some form of active stabilization. And no debris field, no damage, it is whole. The crew exchanged uneasy looks. The Dravkan had faced many alien powers before, but alone. Silent battleship waiting in the shadow of a gas giant was unusual. Veril's instincts told him this was not a derelict. Scan it. Full spectrum. I want every detail. A moment later, a hum filled the air as the flagship's scanners pulsed invisible waves toward the mysterious vessel. Lines of data scrolled rapidly across the display. The results came in strange bursts, as if the computer hesitated before translating them. The first readings showed armor plating, denser than anything in their military database. It was not a known alloy. The hull registered as layered with something beyond standard metals, some kind of composite that bent their scans, distorting the results. Material composition unknown, the skin operator muttered, frowning. It reflects and absorbs differently across frequencies. Our systems cannot lock onto a single value. Veril stepped closer. What about weapons? The operator's hand slowed as the next set of numbers appeared. His frill flattened in alarm. Commander, main weapon detected. Barrel length, 1.2 kilometers. The bridge fell silent. That cannot be right. One of the officers said, a weapon that large would recheck. Your data, Veril ordered sharply. I already did, the operator said quietly. Power reading, off scale. The computer labeled it as an error because it exceeds our maximum thresholds. Veril's eyes narrowed. He knew their scanners were built to detect the most powerful known energy weapons in the galaxy. 4A. Reading to go beyond that meant one thing. This ship carried firepower their kind had never faced. The rest of the scan continued, but the more it revealed, the stranger it became. Secondary weapons matched no known design. The ship's heat signature was faint yet unnaturally stable, as if it bled no excess energy at all. The energy core's readings fluctuated in patterns that made no sense. It pulsed in irregular rhythms, more like a living heart than a reactor. What kind of vessel is this? Whispered the navigator. Veril didn't answer. His gaze stayed locked on the image of the ship. He had led countless campaigns, fought against fleets from across the stars. But something about this quiet black shape made his scales tighten. It didn't posture, didn't move, didn't even seem to acknowledge them, yet it radiated presence. Another officer broke the silence. Commander, if this ship belongs to the humans, we may have to. The word humans hung in the air like a shadow. The Dravkan had fought many species, but their encounters with humanity were rare and unsettled. Humans were young compared to the great empires, yet their expansion had been rapid. They were unpredictable, often fighting beyond what their numbers or technology should allow. Are you certain it is human? Veril asked. No direct confirmation, the officer admitted. But the design, some features matched scattered reports from our border skirmishes. In the size, humans are the only species known to build ships this large in single hull. Form instead of modular fleets. Veryl's claws tapped the armrest of his command chair. "Continue the scan. I want every hidden detail exposed." The crew obeyed. But something about the process felt different this time. The data stream stuttered. The scanner's humming pitch changed, as if something on the other end was responding. Then, without warning, half the readings vanished. Signal interference, the operator reported. His voice tight. "Not from the planet. It's coming. From the ship itself. It's jamming us." "How?" Veryl demanded. "It hasn't moved. Hasn't even warmed its engines." Before anyone could answer, the comm system crackled. A signal came through, clear and sharp, in perfect Dravkin language. One voice, calm, measured. Without a hint of strain. "Leave now." The bridge crew froze. No threat, no long speech, just the words. Some officers scoffed. Arrogance. One muttered, "A single ship against the fleet. We could burn it to slag in minutes." But others shifted uneasily in their seats. The precision of the language, the absolute certainty in the tone. It was not a bluff. Veryl felt the weight of those words. His gaze stayed fixed on the black vessel. He thought about the moon-sized weapon barrel, the armor that defied their scans, the energy readings that bent their systems into confusion. The Dravkin armada was powerful. But in that moment, Veryl understood something simple and dangerous. This ship was not here by accident. It was waiting. The bridge of the Bloodfang felt colder than before. The two words from the human ship, "Leave now," still hung in the minds of the crew. Commander Veryl sat still in his command chair, tail unmoving, eyes locked on the silent vessel on the screen. "Continue the scan," he said at last. His voice was steady, but everyone could hear the weight behind it. The scan operator's claws danced over the controls. A low hum filled the air again as systems reached deep into the black hull across the void. The readouts came slowly, one segment at a time, beginning structural mapping. The operator reported, "Outer armor composition still resists complete identification, attempting multilayer penetration." Lines of data rolled down the screen. At first, there was no change from earlier. The same impossibly dense readings, the same distortion. But then the computer adjusted to a new scanning frequency, and fresh results appeared. The hull was not a single solid material. It was made of multiple layers, each with a different density and molecular arrangement. The outer layer was harder than any known combat alloy. Beneath it was something even stranger. A lattice structure that absorbed incoming energy and redirected it in spirals. It was like armor and shield combined into one skin. The chief engineer leaned forward. "Commander, with this structure, even a direct plasma strike from our heavy cannons will lose most of its energy before it reached the inner layers. That ship could take hit after hit and still fight." Veryl's eyes narrowed. "Weapon systems?" The scan shifted to the armaments. The main weapon came up first. The computer showed its massive barrel length, already confirmed earlier, but this time it included a new number. The projected energy output. The figure was so high that the calculation field flashed red, warning of theoretical destructive yield beyond standard scale. The weapons officer's throat worked as he read the number. "Commander, if this cannon fires at full charge, it could destroy one of our carriers in a single shot. Shields, armor, all useless." Veryl felt a slow heat build in his chest. A weapon that powerful meant the humans were not simply defending themselves. They had built something to frighten entire fleets. The scan moved on to the secondary weapons. These were smaller, but there were so many that the computer's display looked like a swarm of red dots around them. Battleship, they covered every approach angle, making it impossible to flank the vessel without facing constant fire. And then there were the launch bays. The Dravkin expected to find standard fighter hangars, but the scan showed multiple sealed compartments with unknown launch mechanisms. Whatever they were, the system labeled them unknown deployment platforms. The navigator whispered, "Commander, we do not even know what half of their systems are. This ship is beyond us. Continue." Veryl ordered. The scan shifted deeper, trying to read the ship's core. At first, it looked like a massive reactor, similar to other supercapital ships. But the readings were wrong. The output was steady, yet the core's internal pattern pulsed irregularly, almost like it was breathing. The frequency shifted in ways that suggested the power source could change output instantly, jumping from low energy to full charge in a heartbeat. That's not possible, the engineer muttered. Reactor cores cannot jump like that. You'd melt the containment systems. Humans, the weapons officer said flatly. They build things to take risks no other species would dare. The skin operator's frill twitched. Commander, I'm detecting something else inside the ship. Multiple large, moving structures, shifting as if they are part of the hull itself. Verrill stood. Explain. The internal sections are reconfiguring. I don't know if it's mechanical or something else, but rooms and bulkheads are changing shape. Weapons moving position. Armor plates sliding. A quiet unease spread through the bridge. Ships did not move like that unless they were alive, or at least built with the ability to act like a living creature. Before Verrill could respond, the sensor alarms chimed. Commander, they are scanning us back. The crew went silent. They've locked onto our flagship, to our weapons, to our reactor. The skin operator continued. Their skin speed impossible. They have already completed a full analysis of our ship. Verrill clenched his jaw. He had seen intelligence battles before, where ships probed each other for weaknesses. But this was different. The human vessel had scanned them in seconds, faster than the most advanced Dravkin systems could ever achieve. Report any weapon activation, Verrill ordered. The tactical officer glanced at his display. No active targeting. Weapons are still idle, but their systems are awake now. We can see their energy grid warming up. The black vessel remained perfectly still, no engine flares, no weapon barrels turning toward them. But the energy readings were rising, slow, steady, deliberate. The comms officer broke the tense silence. No new messages, just the one from earlier. Leave now. Verrill paced once across the bridge. His crew watched him, waiting for orders. He knew the Dravkin way: meet strength with strength, test the enemy, break them if possible. But this ship was not like the others they had faced. The humans had built something monstrous, not to destroy recklessly, but to stand as a warning. He thought of the moon-sized weapon barrel again, and the strange armor, and the way the ship's internal systems moved like a predator flexing before a strike. Commander, the engineer said quietly, if this ship fires first, we will not survive. The words were heavy in the air. No one disagreed. Verrill turned back to the screen, studying the dark shape near the gas giant. It floated there with the patience of a hunter that already knew the outcome of the fight, and Verrill, for the first time in his career, felt something he had never allowed himself to feel in battle. Doubt. The bridge of the Bloodfang was quiet except for the faint hum of machinery. The destruction of the moon still played on the tactical display, a spinning model showing the impact site, the molten scar, and the debris spreading into the planets. Rings. The Dravkin officers kept glancing at it, as if trying to understand what they had just witnessed. None of them spoke with the usual confidence that filled a war council. Commander Verrill stood at the center, eyes fixed on the black human battleship. It floated in silence again, as if nothing had happened. They could have fired on us. The navigator said at last, instead, they removed half a moon. It was not about the moon. The chief engineer replied. His voice was low, almost grudging. It was about control. They wanted us to see what they can do, not guess it. Verrill understood this in battle. Fear was most effective when it was certain. A rumor could be ignored. A possibility could be challenged. But proof could not be denied. The weapons officer cleared his throat. Commander, our own heavy cannons could destroy a moon in time. But not like that. Not with one shot, and not without leaving a long chain of energy buildup for the enemy to detect. They charged in seconds. Verrill said nothing, but inside, he felt the same unease his crew did. The human ship had not needed time to prepare. That meant it could repeat the attack without warning. The skin operator, who had been silent since the firing, finally spoke. Commander, I believe they deliberately reduced their power output for that shot. Several heads turned toward him. Explain, Verrill said. The readings we had before the firing. They never reach the full level the ship is capable of. If this was only a fraction of their maximum power, then the actual yield could be many times greater. The idea sank into the room like cold water. If the humans had been holding back, the demonstration had not been to show their limits. It had been to show just enough. VAR turned back to the main screen. Zoom in. The black battleship grew larger in the display. The armor looked smooth at a distance, but now the flowing lines and etched patterns along its hull became visible again. They shifted subtly, like shadows moving under the surface. They are not charging weapons now, the tactical officer said. No targeting locks, but their energy grid remains active, balanced, as if ready to move in any direction. The engineer tilted his head. It's as if the ship is built to fight without preparation. No slow warming of reactors. No staged weapon activation. Every system is alive, all at once. The Dravkin ships, by comparison, followed a strict cycle. Engines, weapons, and shields each drawing from different systems that needed time to sink under battle strain. Against a ship that could operate everything instantly, they would always be a step behind. The comms station beeped softly. No incoming voice message, the comms officer reported. But they are sending us our own scan data. Veril turned sharply. What? It's everything we collected on them, but reorganized, corrected, and marked with comments. They have highlighted where our scans were wrong. A murmur of disbelief spread across the bridge. The humans had not only intercepted their scanning, they had understood their technology well enough to improve it and send it back. This is not a warning, the navigator said slowly. This is them showing they know how we think. Veril agreed. The humans were not just powerful in weapons. They were dismantling the Dravkin confidence piece by piece. A fleet could fight another fleet, but fighting an enemy that already knew your weaknesses before you even fired, that was something else. The Bloodfang's bridge lights dimmed slightly as the power systems adjusted. The captain of one of the escort cruisers hailed in overcoms. Commander, the voice said, tight with tension. We have multiple ships reporting targeting pings from the human vessel. Which ships? Veril asked. All of them, every. I turned toward the display. The human ship had not moved, but its targeting systems had apparently locked onto every Dravkin ship in the fleet at once. The power readings were steady, calm, with no sign of strain. They are telling us they can fire at all of us, the weapons officer said. And they are telling us they can do it without choosing targets, Veril replied. He understood the strategy now, complete control of the engagement. The humans had positioned themselves in such a way that no matter what the Dravkin fleet did, they could be hit instantly. Veril looked around at his officers. Mark my words, if we advance, they will not waste shots to disable us. They will destroy us outright. The engineer nodded grimly. It would be the most efficient use of their power. On the display, the human ship slowly rotated again, this time so that its massive main cannon was angled just slightly toward the Bloodfang. It was not a perfect lock, but it was enough to make every officer on the bridge feel the weight of its aim. They are asking us to decide, the navigator said. Stay and risk it, or leave and live. Veril's claws tightened against his chair. The Dravkin Empire had never backed down from an enemy, but this was no ordinary enemy. This was a single ship that had already decided the outcome. The human vessel sent one final data burst. It contained no words, no coordinates, just a single symbol, a ring broken by a straight line through its center. What does it mean? The comms officer asked. VAR stared at it for a long moment. It is their way of saying the engagement is already broken. We are not a threat. We are dismissed. No one spoke after that. The battleship floated silently, patient, unshaken, and the Dravkin fleet, for the first time in decades, did not know what to do next. The alien bridge felt like it had shrunk. The black human battleship remained motionless near the swirling blue-white gas giant. Yet every crew member aboard the Bloodfang felt its presence pressing against them. Commander Veril had ordered a pause in all scans, hoping the silence would be met with silence. It wasn't. Without warning, the battleship shifted. It was not a full turn or a clear movement, just a slow, deliberate rotation of its hull. The black surface caught the distant light in a strange way, almost as if the patterns along its armor were flowing like water. Movement detected. The navigator said quickly, "Minimal thrust output, but they are aligning something." The tactical officer leaned forward, studying his own screen. Not aligning toward the planet, toward us. The bridge was utterly quiet. Then the comm station came alive. A channel opened automatically, without the Blood Fang requesting it. The voice was the same as before, deep, steady, and impossibly calm. "You will not advance any closer. This is your only warning." The words were not shouted, but they carried a weight that felt heavier than any threat. The language was, again, perfect Dravkin, without even the smallest mistake in pronunciation. One of the junior officers hissed under his breath, "They know exactly who we are." Veril didn't respond immediately. He watched the stillness of the ship, the way it seemed utterly unafraid. Signaled back. He ordered at last, text only. Request identification and intent. The message went out, crossing the empty space in less than a second. They waited for a reply. When it came, it was only 3 words. "We are human." No name for the ship, no indication of a fleet, no talk of diplomacy. Just a plain statement. It was enough to unsettle the crew, more than any long speech could have. The tactical officer whispered to himself, "One ship. No allies in sight." And yet, he trailed off, looking uneasy. "Commander," the weapons officer said, "allow me to ready our main batteries. We do not need to fire, but we must show them we are prepared." "No," Veril said sharply. "Not yet." Every Dravkin officer in the room knew that hesitation in battle was dangerous. Yet no one pressed the point. The earlier scans had made their mark. The impossible weapon, the moving internal structures, the way the ship had. Read their systems faster than they could react. The black vessel rotated a little more, and something along its side shifted. At first, it was unclear what was happening, but then the armor plating parted slightly, revealing massive recessed sections within its hull. Reconfiguration detected. The engineer reported, his voice low. "Sections of the ship are opening. Internal weapon mounts are moving outward." The main display shifted to tactical overlay, and the readings painted a grim picture. Dozens of large-scale cannons were sliding into firing positions. The ship had not yet charged them, but the mechanical readiness was unmistakable. "They are showing us their teeth," the weapons officer muttered. "No," Veril said quietly. "They are showing us enough to make us think." He understood. Now, the humans weren't just preparing for a fight, they were controlling the pace of it. Every action, every slow movement, every comm message was designed to place doubt in the mind of the enemy, and it was working. The humans sent another transmission. This time it was not a voice, but a short data burst. The Blood Fang systems translated it immediately. A single set of coordinates appeared on the screen, far from the fleet, on a small moon orbiting the gas giant. "What are they sending us this for?" asked the navigator. Veril's instincts told him the answer before the humans acted. A glow began to build along the main cannon of the black battleship. It started as a faint light deep in the barrel, then expanded outward, brighter and brighter, until the computer was forced to dim the display to protect the crew's eyes. The charge built without sound, but the power readings spiked to levels their sensors had never recorded before. The humans fired. A single beam of energy tore across the darkness. It did not aim at the Blood Fang or any of the fleet's warships. Instead, it hit the moon from the coordinates they had sent. The impact was instantaneous and devastating. Half the moon's surface shattered and melted, glowing red as enormous clouds of debris were hurled into space. The shock wave expanded in every direction, strong enough to make the Blood Fang shields flare even from this distance. The bridge was silent. No one spoke. No one moved. "That was but demonstration," the weapons officer said at last, his voice barely audible. "They could have aimed at us," the navigator said. "They did not need to." Veril replied. He watched the debris of the moon drifting into the planet's rings. In one shot, the humans had shown them the difference in their power. The message was clear. If they could erase a moon in seconds, what would they do to a ship or fleet or even a world. The black vessel sealed its weapon ports again, returning to its still, silent posture. No follow-up attack came. No new words were sent. The humans had acted once, and that was enough. Veril sat back in his chair, his claws tapping slowly against the armrest. The Dravkin had destroyed countless ships and worlds, but never like this. The humans had chosen to strike something unimportant, only to show what they could do. That meant they were confident. Confident enough to know the Dravkin would understand the warning without further bloodshed. And Veril did understand. This was not an enemy to test lightly. This was a predator that killed only when it wanted to. The bridge lights felt dimmer somehow, the space outside darker, though nothing had truly changed. What had changed was in the minds of every officer. Present, they knew, now, that they were being allowed to leave. The bridge of the Iron Resolve felt colder than usual, though the ship's systems were running at perfect temperature. Captain Rourke stood near the center table, his eyes locked on the tactical display. Around him, the crew worked in calm focus, their movements deliberate, their voices steady. No one said it aloud, but everyone felt it, the quiet before a storm. Over the past day, they had pieced together the alien fleet's movements. Each hyperspace jump, each formation shift, was recorded and analyzed. The enemy's confidence was growing. They believed they knew the Iron Resolve inside and out after their deep scans. That confidence would be their undoing. Lieutenant Mara approached with a datapad. Captain, the signal buoys are in place. Sector Theta 4 will appear. Clear to long-range scans, but she tapped the display, showing faint distortion lines. Once they get closer, they'll enter the kill zone without realizing it. Rourke gave a small nod. Good. Make sure our electronic signature stays low until they're right on top of us. Across the bridge, Chief Engineer Patel spoke from his console. We've modified the reactor output. From a distance, it'll look like our core is under heavy strain. They'll think we're damaged and vulnerable. That's the bait, Rourke said. We'll give them the picture they want to see. Meanwhile, in the darkness of space beyond, the enemy fleet was on the move. Aboard the alien flagship, Commander Veller studied the human ship's last known location. He was convinced the Iron Resolve was running low on power and retreating toward a Nebula 2 hide. His advisors urged caution, but Veller had dismissed them. They are fragile, he told them. One more strike and their vessel will fall apart. I will deliver the final blow. What Veller did not know was that every step he took toward the nebula was part of Rourke's plan. In the hours that followed, the human ship hit deep in the nebula's edge. Using its dense clouds to mask movement, they deployed small stealth drones, which drifted silently, ready to feed targeting data back to the battleship. Down in the weapons bay, Gunnery Officer Harris oversaw final checks. The rail cannons were armed, missile pods loaded, and point defense systems fully powered. Even though the crew had rehearsed the scenario dozens of times in simulations, the real thing carried a weight none of them could ignore. When the alien fleet's first scouts entered the trap zone, the drones relayed their positions instantly. Rourke waited. He wanted the entire enemy formation inside the zone before giving the order. Minutes stretched like hours. The alien ships advanced, unaware of the invisible net tightening around them. Veller's voice rang through his own bridge as he ordered a full charge toward the human vessel's last known location, on the Iron Resolve. Mara glanced up from her console. Captain, all ships are in position. If we wait any longer, they'll start deploying their own probes. Rourke's gaze was steady. Hold. I want their flagship dead center. Another 30 seconds passed. Then it happened. The massive alien flagship glided into the heart of the trap. Now, Rourke said quietly. Instantly, the nebula lit up. From hidden positions, the Iron Resolve's rail cannons fired, launching metal slugs at near-relativistic speeds. Missile pods erupted from concealment, streaking toward their targets. The alien fleet's first reaction was confusion. Their scans had shown no such weapon platforms. In the chaos, the Iron Resolve emerged from the nebula, its engines roaring to full power. It cut across the enemy formation, unleashing broadside after broadside. Ships exploded in blinding flashes, their debris scattering into the void. Veller shouted orders to counterattack, but the trap was too precise. Every alien vessel was being hammered from multiple angles. Those that tried to retreat found their hyperspace drives disabled by precision strikes. Even so, the battle was far from over. The alien fleet's heavy cruisers turned their guns on the human battleship, and the Iron Resolve shuddered under the impact. Shields flared bright, and damage alarms rang out across the bridge. Patel reported from engineering. Shields holding at 70%, but they're concentrating fire. We can't take this forever. Rourke's voice was calm. We don't need forever. Just long enough. He keyed in a command to the drones still in the field. At once, the drones switched roles from spotters to kamikaze weapons. They accelerated toward the remaining alien ships, detonating at close range and shredding hulls with high-density shrapnel. On the alien bridge, Veller realized the truth too late. The humans had lured them here, and every scan they had trusted was a lie. His final thought before his flagship split apart under a rail cannon strike was that perhaps these humans were far more dangerous than their size or numbers suggested. Back on the Iron Resolve, cheers erupted as the last enemy ship was disabled. But Rourke didn't celebrate yet. He knew they had wounded the enemy deeply, but not destroyed them entirely. He turned to Mara. Send the report to command. Tell them the trap worked. But the war isn't over. The crew returned to their stations, already preparing for the next move. In the silence of space, the wreckage of the alien fleet drifted, a warning to anyone else who thought humans were easy prey. And somewhere, far beyond human sensors, the survivors of Veller's armada were already plotting their revenge. The alien fleet was in disarray. Reports from their surviving ships told stories of devastating firepower and unexpected tactics. Commander Veller had been replaced by Commander Malric, a veteran with sharp eyes and a cautious mind. But even Malric knew the threat was unlike anything they had ever faced. The Dravkin ships repaired as best they could, but their fear of the lone human battleship grew. On board the Iron Resolve, Captain Rourke reviewed the latest scans and reports. His ship was intact. But the real advantage was not the hardware, it was the people. Lieutenant Mara approached the captain. Sir, new intel shows the humans don't rely on artificial intelligence for their ships. Every system is monitored and controlled by live crews. Rourke nodded. Yes, unlike the Dravkin who use automated command systems on most ships. Humans believe in their own minds. The crew had spent months training together, perfecting coordination, reacting faster than machines, and thinking creatively on the fly. This human factor made them unpredictable. Malric's fleet tried to regroup and analyze the enemy. They sent probes, drones, and even emissaries, but nothing broke the humans' calm. The Iron Resolve moved and fired as if it had one mind, and that mind was quick, adaptable, and fearless. Aboard the Dravkin flagship, Malric paced the command room. Our automated systems are too slow. Our plans are predictable. The humans change tactics faster than our computers can adjust. One officer spoke quietly. Commander, the humans' mental synchronization is beyond anything we have encountered. Their decisions are instantaneous. They fight as one organism. Malric frowned. Then we must find a way to disrupt their crew, to break their connection. Meanwhile, the human ship prepared for another engagement. Captain Rourke called his officers together. Our biggest strength is our people. They do not follow rigid codes or patterns. We adapt. We survive because we think. The communications officer smiled. Our signals are encrypted, but I've noticed we can feed false information into the enemy's AI systems. They cannot keep up. Rourke nodded. Good. We will use their dependence on automation against them. Suddenly, the Iron Resolve's sensors detected an approaching fleet. It was the bulk of the Dravkin armada, stronger and more organized than before. Battle stations, Rourke ordered. We will show them what it means to face humans. The battle that followed was a clash of steel and willpower. The alien fleet fired volleys of plasma and missiles. The Iron Resolve dodged, countered, and struck back with precision. But more importantly, the human crew adjusted tactics on the fly. When the Dravkin deployed new fighter swarms, The humans quickly coordinated their defenses, forming barriers. In traps, Malric watched helplessly as his fleet faltered. The humans did not just survive, they outthought him. The mental link between humans meant every gunner, pilot, and engineer moved in harmony. The Iron Resolve was not a machine, it was a living battle organism. As the last alien cruiser exploded, Malric's voice came over comms. Strained and defeated. "This is Commander Malric. We withdraw. Humans, you have proven you are not just technology. You are something else." Captain Rourke stood tall. "We fight not just with weapons, but with our minds and hearts." The war was far from over, but the Drafkin now knew what they faced: a race that would never back down. The Drafkin fleet had suffered a crushing defeat. Commander Malric's voice echoed through the communication channels. Cold and filled with a grudging respect, "We retreat. The humans are unlike any foe we have faced. They are more than machines or weapons. They are the mind behind the weapon." Across the vastness of space, the Iron Resolve floated calmly, its black hull gleaming faintly in the starry void. Captain Rourke stood on the bridge, watching the alien fleet disappear toward the shadows of distant stars. His crew was exhausted, but victorious. "Report status," Rourke said, his voice steady. Lieutenant Marr answered. "Minimal damage to shields and systems. Enemy forces retreating at full speed. Their morale appears broken." Chief Engineer Patel gave a small smile. "Our systems are holding up well. The ship performed beyond all expectations." Rourke nodded. "This battle is not just about firepower. It's about who controls the future." News of the human battleship's victory spread quickly across many star systems. The Drafkin Empire, known for their ruthless conquests, was humbled by a single human ship. Tales grew of the black vessel that moved like a shadow and struck like a storm. Back on the Iron Resolve, the crew prepared for what lay ahead. They knew this fight was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and many more threats would come. But they were ready. Together. In the days following the battle, diplomatic messages from other species began arriving. Many wanted to know more about the humans and their incredible ship. Some offered alliances. Others sought knowledge. Captain Rourke understood this moment well. "We must be careful," he told his officers. "Our strength is in unity and adaptability. We will offer friendship, but we will also protect our home fiercely." Meanwhile, the Drafkin Empire retreated to rebuild. Commander Malric prepared new strategies, knowing that the humans had changed the rules of war. They had seen the power of the human mind working as one with their technology. As the Iron Resolve set course for the next mission, Rourke looked out at the stars. He thought of all the battles ahead and the responsibility resting on his crew's shoulders. "We fight for more than survival," he said quietly. "We fight for the hope of a future where all species can stand together or choose their own path." The black battleship sailed into the unknown, a symbol of humanity's strength and determination. One skin had been enough to doom the Drafkin, but the story of that day was just the first chapter of a much greater journey. And so, in the vastness of space, the legend of the human battleship grew, not just as a weapon, but as a beacon for those who dared to believe in the power of courage, unity, and the indomitable human spirit.